$9 million. So this would be, I'm not exactly sure what the percentage is, but since we don't have the total bid yet, I'm not sure where it'll come in.
Okay.
Ben, this is Denny. Question. The construction administrative services and the architect's work, that is the same company, right?
Yeah, Denny.
Ben, we cannot hear you at all.
Yeah, Bowen is the same company for both engineering and the design.
You're cutting out. Ben, you cut out.
The YouTube's coming through that.
Yeah, YouTube's paying with it.
Sorry, we had some feedback from the YouTube broadcast. Is everything okay now?
I can hear you.
Go ahead with your explanation, please.
Sorry about that. We're broadcasting the meeting live to YouTube, and it was coming back through the speaker. So RL Bowen is the same company for both contracts. They would be doing engineering and design and the construction administration.
And there's no issue of conflict of interest in that regard?
No, from our perspective, it's beneficial to have Bowen doing it because since they generated the original drawings, they're much more familiar with the plans than another firm. So they will better be able to defend us as the owner to the contractors. So generally they work on our behalf with the general contractors and their trades to facilitate, the final product.
Thank you.
Just one comment that, in the future, you probably want to think about actually having a different consultant doing the construction administration. ODOT doesn't allow the design firm to do the construction administration also. And the only reason for that is if there's like a bad mistake in the plans or something, you worry about the construction management firm, who happens to be the design firm, maybe to try to, in a sense, show that it wasn't their fault as far as errors and omissions in a plan. So I'm not worried about it now. We're already down the road. But in the future, when you have contracts of this size, a lot of times it's advantageous to have a different firm doing the construction management. I understand your thought that they know the plans better, but really anybody should be able to do construction management, based on a good set of plans. So, but I'm all right with going down the rest of the road with this.
Yeah, we can certainly look into that for the next contract we let. We've traditionally done it this way, and that's actually the way we sought to do it this time. But we can certainly investigate going with another vendor in the future.
Donna, it looks like you have a comment.
My question, Ben, is not necessarily specific just to this contract and construction project, but really to multiple things that Lake Tran has in our purview in terms of projects that we planned on or when we potentially got the levy, which we did. My concern is the tremendous economic impact that we have seen out of the COVID-19 situation is we don't even know yet, for example, where we're going to stand in terms of sales tax revenue, which is the major source for our operations, until June when those figures start to come in. And I am just beginning to wonder here, the more I hear and read about, states potentially going bankrupt. I think there's a lot of questions that are out there that need to be answered. And I am really wondering if we should not have a broader discussion on that, try to get some more information, see what those figures start to come in at in June, determine if projects where monies have been obligated, if that money is actually going to come through the state, for example. I think we need more information. I'm not suggesting we halt anything, but I think we should slow down.
Yeah, I was gonna wait towards the end a little bit, for a little bit of financial info. I think some of you saw my email updates, that I was sending out recently. As far as the short term, I know I sent an email to everyone saying we were assuming we were gonna get around $6.7 million from the feds as a formula to help cope with coronavirus. We got the final number and it's $7.9 million. So, that money is also flexible and can be spent on virtually anything. This is going to sound strange, but we are in a good financial position for the moment. We've had a lot of discussions internally about what should we do long-term and what our plans should be. We generally, I presented the sort of the 3 phases of post-levy activities. We are most likely going to discuss delaying phase 3 next month. So we're paying attention. We're trying to be very cautious. It's hard to predict. So, we're doing our best to keep up with the information, but we are going to have to probably be prepared for a little bit of a slow recovery. But I think overall, our projections were conservative for our expenditures post-levy, and our planned expenditures were also conservative. So we'll keep monitoring them and may need to tweak them a little, but I think for right now, you can have the confidence that we are in a good financial place, especially with, $7.9 million is almost half a year of our operating budget. So we should be and continue to be in a relatively secure position, but we will definitely keep watching.
And comment, just on top of that, we have a decent reserve fund. So I think we're in good financial shape at the moment.
Brian?
John Martin, yes, looks like you.
Yeah. I was really thinking about the same way that Donna was, in that broadly, it seems like we ought to really consider what the future is going to be like. The future is going to be different than it has been. And with ridership down as much as it is, to do any planning for something that is going to project that the ridership is going to come right back up to where it was, seems to me to be really a big risk. Another big risk is that there is a future that is uncharted, and even though it's funded, I think we got to consider whether it's responsible to go ahead with plans that we had in place prior to a pandemic and prior to a recession and close to a real emergency for a lot of families, and continue with those exact same plans as they are right now. To me, that's a real risk, and it's something that we ought to really consider very hard. So I'm going to worry about, even though the funding is there, whether it's responsible to really expend the funds for a situation that we don't know what is going to be existing as in the future.
I look at all that, Ben, and I think back to the financial meltdown in 2008, and we passed a budget in December. By January, we were looking at a tremendous drop in sales tax, which that was just the tip of the iceberg. It was dramatic and significant. And while on paper it looks like we're in a good place, I'm just really concerned with trying to plow ahead with that plan as if nothing had happened. Because with 26 million people unemployed, this is going to impact housing and property tax, sales tax. We are in uncharted waters, and this is my discomfort level.
Yeah, I think, keep in mind, this, while we appear to be sort of plowing ahead, a lot of things still have not happened yet, and we are still evaluating that. The design process for the building project does not mean we have to go to bid when it's concluded. We can choose to wait or not do it. So there's still a lot, it'll take over a year to do that. So we still have, time to sort of make decisions and adjust things. There is some grant revenue associated with this. So I still think it's a good idea to move forward. Basically, mainly because, there are some grant funds available and committed. But I do agree, and I don't want to sound like I'm trying to keep everything going exactly as it was. I think we have some decisions we have to make about service in the future. But I think this particular item at this moment, keep the design process on track and then evaluate whether we actually, go forward with construction on the same schedule or not. Because as you mentioned, a lot can change in the next 4 to 6 months.
What are the parameters of this contract you're asking us to enter into today? Does it provide some kind of provision where we have an out cost, or we have no idea what those parameters are?
I mean, this contract is contingent upon the construction actually happening. So in the event the construction didn't happen, the expenditures would not take place.
Brandon, is there anything you would like to add about the contract?
Yeah, we tried to build in appropriate timeframes. I kind of went over that with them to an extent that this, in light of the pandemic, needs to be, giving us time and not only us time, but them time as well. So that was, I think, originally a pretty short time frame. That was extended by agreement amongst us to, I think, forgive me, Ben might know better. I want to say we went up to almost 24 months, 12 or 24 months. I'd have to pull it up again and look at it, but that was definitely a concern.
Yeah, and again, with this being contingent on construction taking place, if, for example, we decided not to go to bid and actually move forward with construction, this contract will not see any expenditures.
And one more time, Ben, to be clear, this is for all phases. This 235, was it 253,000 is for all 3 phases of the, you said it, was it 9 million, your total estimate, and they're going to do construction management for 253,000?
That is correct.
Because it just, again, from my ODOT background, typically construction management, runs around 10% of a construction cost. So this is really cheap. And I'm kind of surprised they wanted to even negotiate prior to knowing what the bids are going to be on a job. But so this is a really cheap construction management cost from my view, at least.
Thank you, Dale. I'm going to turn the meeting over to our other engineer who has a comment with his hand raised, Mr. Zibble.
Yeah,
Chuck, you're on mute still.
Okay, now it's off. Dale, I had a chance to look at that contract, and it's not a full-time resident rep contract person there. It's the once a week meeting type construction management. So there's some savings in that portion of the way the contract was written.
Okay.
So I think the idea of the percentage would be right if you had a full-time rep on this site.
Thanks, Chuck.
Yep.
Yeah, our reason for that is, we're in the building, we're watching it every day. We will be very intimately familiar with the plans, assuming the project goes forward. So we will spend lots of time monitoring what everyone is doing no matter what. Just if anything, out of curiosity.
It looked like Denny had another comment perhaps.
I have a question for Brandon. You broke up slightly. You were commenting on something about 12 and 24 months in the contract. Could you go over that again, potentially clarify?
Yeah, Donna, what we did, in light of and I'd have to pull it up and cite you the specific section, so forgive me, it's a bit lengthy, but the idea was we wanted to build in some protections there because of the pandemic and because of the unknown. So in other words, we didn't want to lock anything in to the extent that either Lake Tran or Bowen or anybody could. We did not want Lake Tran to be subjected to, a pandemic situation where we've now got problems and deadlines that can't realistically be met by anybody, including, of course, ourselves.
So does that extend the deadline dependent on
Well,
our
what we
chances, or?
Yeah, what we did is build in some buffers there. The initial timelines they had proposed, and I'm not a big fan of the AIA contracts. I know that nobody really is, and Chuck or anyone, but we wanted to make sure that was manuscripted in a little bit differently to allow us the proper ways to get out and to avoid any being constrained by anything otherwise.
Were there any other questions for Ben or Brandon? Okay, at this time, I will read the motion. At this time, is there a motion to move to the Board of Trustees meeting, the attached resolution authorizing the CEO or his designee to enter into a contract with R.L. Bowen and Associates Incorporated for construction administration services for the project to renovate and expand Lake Tran headquarters building at a cost not to exceed $253,115.
So moved.
Second by Zibble.
Motion made by Mr. Schiavone, seconded by Mr. Zibble. Ben, if you could please call the roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Malkowski, Martin,
Yes.
McAmey,
Yes.
Montrella,
Yes.
Schiavone,
Yes.
Sheets,
Yes.
and Zibble.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We have moved that to our board meeting agenda. At this time, I will turn the meeting back over to Ben, where we'll talk about the purchase of 6 vans.
Yeah, so this item is to request authority to buy, or to replace 6 high-top vans from 2011. They have gone well beyond their useful life, and we are seeking to replace them. These are, how do I describe it? These are some of the smallest vehicles we operate in our fleet. They are basically a standard Ford Transit van with a high roof and a lift that comes out the back. These are also some of the cheaper vehicles we have in our fleet. They're gasoline powered. We went through a procurement process in March of 2009, and we were awarded a 5-year contract with Tesco for the purchase of vans during that time. There are some different van choices available we have. The one we've settled in on that seems to be the best for us is, we call it Van 2. That's the one with the wheelchair lift out the back. With PPI adjustments to the vans and a couple little minor tweaks, the unit price is $69,553. So the total cost for all of the vans is $417,018. It is made up of 3 different funding sources. Most of it is federal, getting us to our normal 80-20 match. And this is just sort of part of the normal process. I know you talked about the desire to, slow things down a little bit. Vehicle purchases and planning take several years, so this is just the outcome of that time frame moving along. So with grant funds in place and the local match available, we think it's a good idea to continue moving forward on the normal plans for these vans, because anytime you put the brakes on certain types of federal money, you may not get it back. So these will be a good addition to the fleet.
What is the delivery on these, Ben?
We expect to see them sometime in December.
Danny, looks like you have a question.
Yeah, occupancy of the van.
The maximum, if there are no wheelchairs, is 7. If there is a wheelchair, it goes down to 5.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ben? At this time, is there a motion to move to the Board of Trustees meeting the attached resolution authorizing the CEO or his designee to purchase?
I have a question.
For $69,500, $53,000 each, for a total not to exceed $417,000 and $318.
Brian, this is Lane. I have a question.
I think the proper protocol is for us to take a motion and then ask for discussion.
Yes.
So was there a motion?
So moved. Anderson.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Anderson, seconded by Mr. Schiavone. Now, is there any discussion, Lane?
Yes. If we were to postpone the ordering of these vans or the delivery of these vans before we have to pay for them by a few months to see where we're going to stand when this pandemic is at least a little more is known about it, is that going to affect the federal money and the delivery of these things that much?
If we delayed it by a couple months, I don't think it would. One of the reasons we've kept the schedule is we've been told by our bus vendor that they've seen a massive drop in private sales and leasing. So they've really leaned on their government contracts to see what they are able to fulfill so that they can keep their manufacturing facilities open and sort of the doors and lights on. So we considered that when we brought this to the board this month. We have some more bus purchases to bring to the board next month. And part of it is we do ultimately feel that these vehicles are the right purchase. Part of it is to help our bus vendors in the difficult time also.
Mr. Zibble.
Just a point of clarification too, Ben, for maybe this is more for Keith, but what kind of cost are we going to be incurring if we do delay this for 3 months on the vans that you're going to be replacing? Are they really band-aided together right now, or are they still operating very well?
They are band-aided together to the point where we had to put sheet metal on the floor under the driver's feet because they were rotted away. There's some body rot. Mechanically, they're okay, but they're okay for a 9-year-old vehicle, but they are rotting away. Literally 5 out of the 6 have sheet metal under the driver's feet.
What kind of ridership are these vans potentially a part of?
They're part of the dial-a-ride fleet.
Well, I know that, Ben, but we were assuming a certain level of ridership originally starting into this year, and what we needed to deal with that growing ridership, largely of seniors on dial-a-ride, between now and 2030. We have no idea how that is going to continue to grow. We don't have any idea of anything for that matter. So do we have vehicles in the fleet that are newer, that are not band-aided together, that these could potentially be put on hold for a couple of months in order to, again, determine where we're at and what our needs exactly are going to be?
I mean, the ultimate answer is yes. The things that you want to keep in mind are the lead time when, assuming things do return to normal and private folks do start ordering again, The lead time will most likely increase, so there is some risk. I don't think it's major, but there is some risk that if we delay and then decide to reorder the vehicles when we start to get busier, that they will take longer to arrive and we may have need of them that we can't kind of deal with. We also have to be careful how long we wait, because this is replacement money for buses, so it's not good to take a bus out of service for a long period of time and then replace it. The feds prefer, the vehicle in use and then retired. Obviously with coronavirus, I would assume they'll be lenient on that rule. They haven't released any adjusted guidance though, so there is a possibility they would be upset if we, sidelined a fleet and then replaced it after sitting empty for a while.
Denny, it looked like you had your hand up for a comment.
Yes. These are the smaller vans, and certainly we've been pushing for a smaller unit for dial-a-ride rather than running the bigger vehicles. And so I'm inclined to believe that dial-a-ride will continue to grow as the others may falter in capacity. For that reason, I would like us to move forward with these particular ones as replacements.
Mayor Anderson, looks like you have a comment as well.
Yeah, my thought was pretty much the same thing with Denny. We know the ride has been down, but now that they're opening up the medical practices, the standard medical practices, I got to believe that our ridership is going up again. And not only that, because of social distancing, can we put more than one person on a van? I mean, I think we're going to need the vehicle, I believe. And so I'd be comfortable moving forward with it.
These are not vehicles to social distance with. I've been in them and you are scrunched in there like sardines.
That was my point. I think we're going to need, even if ridership remains down a little bit, I think we're going to need vehicles, especially the smaller vehicles that can do these stops.
Was there any other discussion on the matter? Seeing none, we had already read the motion, asked for discussion. Ben, could you please call the roll?
Anderson.
Yes.
Kowski. Martin.
Yes.
McNamee.
Yes.
Montrella.
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Sheets.
Yes.
Zibble.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We have moved that to the board meeting. I will now turn the meeting over to Keith to talk about a mobile column wheel lift.
Okay, so we're going to ask the board for approval to purchase these mobile column vehicle lifts. Our fleet has grown over the years in both quantity and the types of buses we have. We demoed some of these lifts and they can lift, pretty much any vehicle we have, some with attachments, or any vehicle we can buy in the future. Setup of the system's quick and easy. It can lift a bus in minutes. Like I said, with our demo here, we tested that out. It's completely mobile. We can set it up anywhere we need. We can use it even during construction. Some maintenance bays are going to be under construction. We'll need to set up a mobile work area. We have a plan to approve 15 with 5 service bays. That means when the lift goes down, if we run overnight, there's 2 shifts that don't have a work area to work in. And after this briefing paper was written, we had our annual OSHA lift inspections done. Basically 2 lanes that support the lift that are supposed to be parallel aren't parallel. That lift by OSHA rules is locked out. We can't use it right now by coincidence. Like I said, we can use mobile work for areas of the building under construction.
So just so everybody knows, what the device that Keith is talking about, a mobile column lift is a lift to lift a bus in the air, but he can move it around and use it anywhere he needs to. The current lifts are built into the ground, And so if for some reason they fail, that whole workspace is pretty much non-usable. And in the event we still move forward with construction, we know that sections of the maintenance area will be closed. So this will do a couple things. It will facilitate, like Keith said, keeping the work areas able to work if something is broken, and we can move it if we need to later. In the past, when a lift broke, he had he had fewer people, so he could move them to other places to do the work. Now his staffing level where it needs to be, if a lift breaks, he has 3 people that basically can't work. So this is actually, in the grand scheme of things, this is a pretty inexpensive solution. An in-ground lift is around $250,000 installed. So these are a pretty good.
So
Yes.
question, so the fact that even if we don't move forward immediately with construction, say, this vehicle or this lift could be used now in our present facility simply by moving it to a concrete base.
Correct.
Yeah, most of the impetus for the ordering of this piece of equipment has more to do with Keith's staffing level than it does construction. The construction piece is a side benefit, but right now, if one of his lifts goes down, he has 3 idle employees. And so this is a way to keep them productive and gives us some additional flexibility. So really the impetus for this is really more about our current setup than it is construction in the future.
Thank you.
Our current repair is, as a guess, will cost this much on the lift we currently have that's out of service right now. We're expecting up around $50,000 to repair that lift. So we did an independent cost analysis on the mobile column lifts. Found a lift, which is a rotary, which is the same as all of our other lifts on the state contract, and that meets our competitive procurement guidelines. So we're asking for approval, authorizing the CEO or his designee to purchase a complete set of mobile column wheel lifts with jack stands, at a total cost not to exceed $56,000.
Any other questions for Keith?
Well,
It looks like Lane.
Yes. What's the delivery of this device?
We're expecting a couple weeks. They had a demo here within 2 days. So we're expecting a couple weeks. It depends on Rotary's availability.
I have the same question on this as I did on the vans. If we delay it by a couple of months or whatever the time frame is, that we can decide, if it's really necessary, or should we expend the money now? I have a difficult time just going ahead and buying something because we basically think we might need it. And are we fully staffed with the mechanics and stuff right now?
Right now we have 5 work areas and 10 mechanics right now. So right now we're full. If we shut down one bay for a period of time, we will have to go to around the clock.
You're breaking up. I couldn't hear you. Sorry.
Yeah, Keith, your audio is very difficult to hear from headquarters.
We have 5 work areas and 10 mechanics. If we have to keep that bay shut down now, we will have to operate around the clock again. We'll have to break. Still can't hear me?
So this is not a purchase because we necessarily think we'll need it in the future. Keith has 10 people today, which means, in his current 2-shift scenario, if he has to move those people, he has to switch to around the clock. The challenge with that, and that might not sound terrible, the challenge with that is, mechanics nowadays have their choice of places they work. And so we've already had 1 to 2 people tell us that if we went to 24/7 work, they would quit. So we're trying to maintain a delicate balance between the staffing, what they want to work, and how they want to work. And so this isn't really an if we need it scenario. Right now, he has, again, just by coincidence, one of his lifts is out of service, and it's probably going to be out of service for at least 4 weeks, we think, depending on how long it takes to fix it. So this really is about keeping his area efficient versus, sort of worrying about something that happen in the future.
4 weeks after approval.
John Martin, it looked like you had a question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, again, getting back to Donna's original point and as well as Lane's point here. Keith, just wondering, why wasn't something like this brought up 2 months ago? And then number two, why can't it be done in 2 months from now? Why does it have to be done now at this meeting?
Well, the current list being locked out was just found out about a week ago. That's why it wasn't brought up 2 months ago. The ocean inspection just identified it the other week. It can't wait 2 weeks. Well, we could wait 2 weeks, but it would drive us into going around the clock.
Okay, and is your number of miles on the road causing the maintenance incidents the same today as it was 6 months ago?
No, the miles is down. We're actually starting to get caught up with work. We've been understaffed for a while, and we're starting to correct that now. And the reduced miles is helping us do that.
Well, I don't want to belabor things here because you've got the information. I don't, or none of us do, or maybe some of us do, but I certainly don't. And in a situation like this, all of the things remaining the same. If you had a one-time only event where you had something that was broken down and you needed to have a workaround, you would rent it. You wouldn't buy it. So,
I'm sorry.
So I guess that would be my question. But again, if you have to have it, then, I mean, I don't know how I answer the question. I'm just saying, like Donna said at the beginning of the meeting, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and to ask for something like this that is absolutely required, only you know that answer. And but it's hard to sit here and listen, knowing the amount of maintenance incidents that must be down without seeing the data on the amount of maintenance work that you do each month and what your capacity is and what your number of employees are, without being able to see all that. Only you know this answer. And so again, I'm just trying to get my arms around here how necessary this really is. And if it's something that is being done in order to fulfill a request on the part of the supplier of this, and we've never had one before, I would really, it makes me wonder. It gives me pause. But so that's why I ask these questions.
So the rental of the equipment is how this conversation started. We started talking internally about the possibility of us emptying the maintenance bays altogether during construction to make the project go faster. It wasn't desired to rent multiple sets of these so we can move into another section of the building during construction. The discussion turned to buying it as a long-term way of lifting any vehicle that we could possibly get, any, I guess, customer's vehicle that could come in here easily and quickly and safely. So discussion about renting them was how this conversation started.
And what's also important is we have traditionally had lift failures here on a somewhat regular basis. Not regular like every week, but they're complicated pieces of equipment and they do fail. The reason that this is important now is because as we've gotten key staffing in place, it's really about maintaining that efficiency of the work areas. And with I wouldn't say the frequency of breakdown sounds like it happens a lot, but when we did the cost benefit analysis about owning a piece of equipment like this that has a 20 to 30 year life over how much it would cost to rent each time a lift broke, this is cheaper in the long run. So we did take a look at the rent versus buy scenario. This ultimately cheaper in the long run. It's certainly a good question, John, about why wouldn't you just rent it in this time that it's broken?
Is there any other discussion or questions on the lift? Seeing none. At this time, is there a motion to move to the Board of Trustees meeting the attached resolution authorizing the CEO, his designee, to purchase a complete mobile column wheel lift system with jack stands at a total cost not to exceed $56,000?
So moved, Anderson.
Second,
Motion made by Mr. Anderson, seconded by Mr. Montrella. Ben, please call the roll.
Sorry, did Donna, did you have, I think Donna might have had a question. You're muted, Donna.
My question was not
Just so everyone knows, we are going to allow some
regarding,
questions. So Donna, please go ahead.
my question was not specifically regarding a lift, only peripherally. And that is, I think going forward, Ben, it would be very helpful to the board, certainly would be to me, to have you all bring in the data and what you're looking at that helps you reach these conclusions. Because right now, I don't know about anybody else, I can't speak for any other member of the board, but I feel like I'm flying blind here. Not that I don't believe you, but we're in uncharted waters, and I would just really appreciate being able to see what the parameters are, what data you're looking at, financial and otherwise, when you bring these questions and requests for purposes to us.
We'll do a better job of that in the future.
Any other discussion? Ben, please call, or Lane, go ahead.
I would agree 100% with what she just said.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, Ben, please call the roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Martin,
No.
McNamee,
No,
Montrella,
yes.
Schiavone,
Yes.
Sheets,
No,
Zibble.
Yes,
I do believe that we had enough to move that to the board meeting. The next item on the agenda is, it looks like it's going to continue with Keith.
Now we're asking for the approval from the board to purchase a lake tram facilities truck. Our lake tram facilities department, their job's gonna be a lot of the maintenance that we could get vendors to do or has been deferred in the past because of lack of interest on vendors. With the Route 8 going in, it'll bring our plus signs over 800, over 40 facilities that this department
Can I
will
stop
help
you
me.
for 1 second? It is nearly impossible to hear you. You're breaking
Yes.
up every other word.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to talk about, is this any better?
if you talk loud enough, it's good, Keith.
Okay, I'm sorry. So with the Route 8, we'll have over 800 plus stops that need maintained, let alone the Route 8 ones put in, with 40 facilities that will need maintenance. This truck will help the department do shelter cleaning, routine maintenance at transit centers, putting up shelters, because it has a crane. It has a crane body on it. A standard pickup truck doesn't have the payload to haul signs that are needed to be installed and hold benches. Without the crane, it's more than a one-person job to install a bus shelter because it's awkward. Not so much that it's heavy, it's awkward to put the roof on top. The truck will have lockable tool storage on the truck. So it'll reduce time gathering and collecting tools to go out for an emergency repair. It doesn't have the payload. So we did an independent cost analysis and specifics to Classic Ford to see if there was a truck on the state contract that would meet our needs. To be available in time for putting in Route 8 signs. The Route 8 signs are not the only task for this truck, but the most pressing one right now. So we're asking for approval of the board to purchase a Lake Tram Facilities truck outfitted with a crane body and a crane and safety lighting at a cost not to exceed $1,000.
Keith, I'm going to start out with the first question. What is the payback period on this asset?
We're estimating, just on the asset, it's hard for me to say that right now. I could get that answer, but we're estimating over $90,000 a year in outside service savings in all the first year or full year. But the truck specifically, I don't really have that number right now. It's just one of the tools that they need to do the job.
And would this be purchased with 100% local funds?
Yes.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? Mr. Zibble?
Is the impetus for this really for Route 8? Or is there other demands on the other routes that we need this vehicle for?
Well, all the routes will get the signs replaced eventually, and, well, not just replaced, but regular maintenance.
So the truck is, when we did the phase 1 of the levy changes and we brought facilities person on board, the desire or the objective was to bring facilities work in-house to save money. So the truck is part of that strategy. Right now, when we need to go out to maintain a bus stop, we really don't have the appropriate vehicle to do that or to maintain a shelter. So this is something that is an ongoing maintenance process that it might seem like it's changed with coronavirus, but the number of bus stops we have that need maintenance, the number of shelters that need maintenance, all those things still exist today. So this, while ridership may be down at the moment and dial ride is down and everything is low, these are maintenance tasks that have to happen regardless of some of the ridership. This truck is part of a holistic strategy to reduce our annual expense on sort of facilities maintenance. And since a lot of our facilities maintenance that we have a challenge with and that we have traditionally spent a lot of money on, repairing and replacing bus stop signs that are hit in accidents and all kinds of different crazy things. You'd be surprised happened to a bus stop sign. This is sort of a holistic approach to taking care of those, which is why we have it. And we have it on the agenda now because we hired the facility person. He's had, a couple months on the job now to identify what needs are as part of that process. And so this will certainly help facilitate with the Route 8 signs, but really the objective is sort of playing the long game to have a piece of equipment long-term that will allow the facilities folks or folk to do his job in an efficient manner.
So to somewhat, in my mind, I guess I'm looking at this as saying, this is a tool in his toolbox that he has to have.
Correct. Yes.
Are all of the outside vendors who used to perform this task, are they gone now?
Well, we are phasing them out. One of them has been gone for about a year, and we've really struggled with bus stop maintenance. We have a lot of signs that are down that need to be fixed and repaired. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the condition of some of our bus stop signs around the county. A lot of them are in poor shape. So this will help us restore those to good standing order and then keep them in good order.
What is the cost differential on this? What is the cost differential between having these outside vendors do this maintenance versus us bringing it in by way of this equipment?
because we can't find a vendor to do it easily because our work is odd, we paid $675 for a damaged bus stop sign to be put in.
Based on annual trends, this should save us around $90,000 a year.
Say that again, Ben, please.
Based on the trending data we have, and some of this, if you'd like to see the exact numbers, are in the board packet from when we changed the table of organization, we had the calculations in there. We should have put them in here this time, but we didn't think about it. But it's roughly $90,000 annually that having these folks saves us.
Hey, Ben and Keith, just so you know, before we take any more discussion, it really helps if you talk as loud as possible. And even then, there's a little bit of audio breakup, so it's not flawless, just so you know if someone asks you to repeat. Were there any other questions or any other discussion? Looks like
So Mike,
Yes. Go ahead.
what you're saying is this is a cost savings based on your annual past experience in what you have to pay to maintain your signage and other activities in that regard.
Correct.
It's a cost savings, and maintaining bus stop signs is something that no private vendor wants to do. And when they do agree to do it, they gouge us. So it's a combination of things. Sometimes we can't even get someone to go replace the sign. And then Keith has to send a mechanic out. And when we do that, that costs even more money.
Are we employing somebody to run this vehicle?
Yes.
Yes, we've already hired him. The bus stop cleaning, which is trash and cleaning of the areas with an annual pressure washing, is ending at the end of May. That contract's ending. We're gonna look for someone else to pick up the trash, but that service is now just under $4,000 a month. What we pay to have them cleaned and pressure washed. The truck will help with that too. Let alone the maintenance.
Thank you.
given the purchase price of the asset and that we're using local funds, was an analysis done on leasing this potentially to see what the need was for it?
No, Lake-Trans hasn't, as far as I know, leased a vehicle.
You can't lease a truck with this load out, can you?
I don't know. I don't really know if we could lease this truck.
Typically with the work an asset like this does for us, and that most of the time a truck like this is kept for over 10 years, leasing hasn't really been an option. And so we did investigate it very thoroughly.
Any other questions or discussion? John Martin.
Just to go along with Brian's question on this, that I was sitting here thinking, what about the secondary market for these types of trucks? Did you look at that?
Generally, this type of vehicle is kept until it's kind of beaten to death. So we've never been able to find a truck like this used that was in a condition we would want to own it.
Normally our trucks, we keep 11 to 15 years.
John, did you have any other comments?
No, I just, I think your answer to my question is no, you didn't, because you assumed that market doesn't exist and that you're going to keep it for 15 years and you want a brand new one. That's what I'm hearing. Is that right?
Well, we did not investigate it this time because in the past we have not been able to find an asset like this. So it's not that we didn't look because we didn't really want to. We have not had success in the past.
Lane, I saw your at one point.
Yes. When we approved the hiring of this maintenance person or folks, whatever he was called, why weren't we given information about he'll need a vehicle to perform his job? I mean, is this something after the fact? What was he going to do for a truck if we don't approve this? I'm a little confused that we got the horse before the cart again, or whichever way you want to look at it. Is there a reason we didn't put this kind of expenditure in the projection?
The facilities department was in the briefing paper and was planned out even before the levy was voted on. So that was part of our plan all along. It's a brand new department that we needed to set up.
Lane, your question is, we did plan on a truck. The reason it wasn't approved at the time is because we wanted to give the new facilities person time to decide what he needed, instead of us deciding what it was in advance. And so that's why there was a gap in the request for approval. We felt asking for it then would have been putting the cart before the horse, because we let that person tell us what they think they need.
Well, we could have at least allocated some funds for it.
Yeah, that was a choice by us about the timing, and you know, we thought that it would be, we thought this was a better way, but maybe it preferred another.
I see a question from Donna, it looks like.
Then what continues to trouble me here is that, particularly with the circumstances we're now in, but this one actually goes back further than that. There's information in this particular briefing paper that really should have been here. On the back page, for example, it indicates specifications were sent to 3 dealers for quotes. Normally, when we get a briefing paper like this, we have the other dealers and what their quotes were and some information why this one was chosen. Plus a lot of other questions that have come up here that I just feel like we're kind of being put on the spot again, because a lot of data that you're seeing, what exists, has not been shared with us. So I just want to politely but firmly stress again, I think we need more data in order to feel like we're making an intelligent, well-informed decision.
I know, we have not selected a dealer yet. We're out for 3 quotes. We're still waiting for the one to come back that's actually on the state contract. We received pricing from both Classic Ford, who's not on the state contract, and Valley Ford. That's on a state contract. Their name escapes me right now. They have not responded to our calls and our emails. So Classic Ford is actually a full state contract, even with the additional lights on.
Are they past the date set that they should send a quote in by?
I don't think there's a hard deadline. We were waiting for board approval, because we're not selecting a vendor right now. We're just asking for approval for that dollar amount, $81,000, to purchase it when they come in. And I will gladly share all 3 of them with you if we get 3. I'll share whatever we get.
Mr. Zibble.
Ben, you said you were going to be buying this off the state contract, state purchasing contract.
Usually what we do is we talk to our local vendors, we tell them what state contract pricing is, and we ask them to beat it. And as long as it is less than that, that's an approved format of procurement. And we've done that in the past with a lot of support vehicles, and typically our local vendors get the bid, so they'll undercut whoever the state dealer is by, $500 to $1,000.
Okay, so since you're not buying it directly off the state contract, you have to go through that, getting at least the 3 bids, or 3 proposals.
Yeah, I mean, any type of purchase like this, we always try to get 3 quotes. Some places won't talk to us because they say that's on state contract, we're not involved. So it can be a little challenging, but right now is also a pretty favorable time to buy a vehicle, because the manufacturers have a lot of stock that isn't moving.
Shouldn't necessarily be a reason that we jump, but that's I understand your point.
Well, no, but I guess my point was typically Classic does not underbid state contract, but they did this time.
Okay.
Are there any, looks like Denny, please.
Yeah, just, it sounds to me like, in that you don't have the bids in, that there would be no problem in moving this to the next board meeting and trying to secure your proposals by then.
I mean, we can certainly wait and do as the board desires. We do know that there is a vehicle on Classic's lot that is the price they gave us, so it is possible the price could go up if we wait. It might not go up much, and it may not be a risk because it may not be sold. I couldn't tell you for sure, but there is some risk to a little bit more money. It might not be large.
That vehicle is not necessarily on their lot, but within their reach.
Does Classic do the modification then to it too?
The truck's already set and ready to go as far as I know. Except for putting a crane on it. It is a crane body, but the box is already out.
Okay. I'm good.
Were there any other questions? At this time, I'm going to read the motion. We'll see where that takes us. At this time, is there a motion to move to the Board of Trustees meeting the attached resolution authorizing the CEO or his designee to purchase a Wing-Trans facilities truck upfitted with a work body, crane, and safety lighting with a total cost not to exceed $81,000?
This is Dale, so moved.
Second, Anderson.
Motion made by Mr. Schiavone, seconded by Mr. Anderson. Ben, can you please call the roll?
Anderson,
Yes.
Makowski, Martin,
No,
McNamee,
Oh,
Montrella,
Yes,
Schiavone,
Yes.
Sheets,
No,
Zibble.
Yes.
Thank you. We have moved that to the board meeting. At this time, is there any old business in the virtual room?
We had the fair discussions.
Denny, you're raising your hand.
yeah, just from the discussion we've had here on these three items, it seems to me that perhaps then we need to take this discussion back into consideration moving forward, and more documentation as an example of past expenditures actually in the proposal compared to the new expenditure. Contrasting those would be most helpful, and probably take and make the request more sound and appropriate for the board to move forward.
We will do that for any future requests.
Is there any additional old business at this time?
We still have item E for fair discussion.
Oh, I do apologize. I completely skipped item E. My apologies. If you would like to go to item E, please.
Yeah, so some of my communications to the board about the COVID pandemic and sort of reactions and plans, I asked the board for their informal opinion about the suspension of fares for a period of time. That period of time was through April 30th. So just to kind of keep everyone on board, we suspended fares since that email. I forget the exact date. I apologize. That suspension of fares is scheduled to end on April 30th. So in my email, I indicated that we would discuss it further at the board meeting. I made the decision in sort of the heat of the crisis. Normally, I would not like to make that decision myself without board approval. So I wanted to talk about it this month and generally see what the board's feeling was about it, whether it should be continued for a period of time or we should continue charging fares again as of May 1st. I want to give time for discussion, but I will quickly give you my sort of opinion about it. Right now, the highest ridership in our system is on in-county fixed route. Ridership is down about 50%, but that's still means 50% of folks are still riding, and that number has held strong. It's started to kind of creep up very slightly in the last couple weeks. That is primarily a cash service. Most of our fare revenue comes in cash on the fixed routes. The fare box, if you're familiar with an in-county fixed route bus, is about 2 feet from the driver. So this going fare free had the most benefit to our in-county fixed route riders and drivers, which is continuing to be our busiest service during the pandemic. My personal recommendation would be that we consider continuing this through the end of May. We still are lacking some guidance from the governor that we should get very soon. But that would allow us to again discuss it at the May board meeting, which is early. The May board meeting is May 18th, so that it's only a couple weeks away. We don't have to do that. That's sort of my gut at the moment. There is no right or wrong answer. There are transit systems around the state that are fare free right now, and they have continued to be. Others, like GCRTA, have not gone fare free at all. They've charged fares this whole time. I know our employees have been very appreciative of our efforts to protect them, but there is some revenue loss associated with it. It's very difficult to predict what that revenue loss will be, especially going forward as stay-at-home orders are lifted. So that's my sort of 2 cents, but I think that, it's good to have some discussion, and I would like some sort of guidance about, what the board would like us to do moving forward with regard to fares for the next 30 days.
Go ahead, Dale. You're on mute.
Dale is muted.
Okay, I think we continue it, one, because we're receiving, some additional monies as a result of the pandemic. Plus we have, we're in good state of affairs with our reserve. And I think it's the right thing to do.
Dave?
Some hands up, Brian. You're the traffic cop here.
I apologize. Lane, was your hand up?
Yeah, I agree with him. I think we should continue it.
Donna?
I agree with the others. I think we should continue it with 2 criteria guiding my decision on that, because we have the monies coming in that are going to help us through this. And as you pointed out, we really don't have a lot of solid guidance from the governor going forward. And to me, that says stay in place with what we're doing until we receive some sort of definitive guidance on how he plans to open things up.
Yes, for the county, for the passing of the levy and the support we've gotten from the county, et cetera, I think it's the right thing to do at this time for sure.
I'm in agreement with everybody that's so far to continue it on. So I think it's a great thing for the community and to react this way. Again, like Denny just said, they've helped us with the levy. We're getting the extra money. I think it's just the right thing to be doing.
I agree also.
Sounds like the feedback is to move forward with continuing free fares to help those who are fortunate to work, get to work, and help those who need to get to medical appointments, get to medical appointments, et cetera.
So would it be acceptable for us to advertise that we will provide free fares through the end of May But we will discuss it again at our May board meeting in the event we want to change that for June 1st.
That'll be okay with me, Ben. I think, again, as they open up the medical facilities, we may see a little bit of an increase in the dial-a-ride, but we can, that way then everybody will know that it's good till June 1st.
And Matt will touch on this a little. We've already seen at the lowest during the pandemic, we were just below 200 rides a day. Right now, we're just under 300 rides a day. So there is a slow creep already started back to using the service. So we will keep everyone up to date. Hopefully, by May, we'll have some better information from the governor and we can kind of help make our decision going forward. But we will advertise that free fares will continue through the end of May.
I know fares are not all that big in our budget. So what kind of loss do you think we've had so far? And again, it's going to be reduced because of the reduction in the ridership, but it's got to be a small amount of dollars.
Yeah, Commuter Express is down to about 5% of its normal passenger load, and that's where a lot of our fares come from. Dial-a-ride is down now. It's just under, it's right about 30% of normal, and fixed route is about 50% of normal. So the fares going along with that, we're below 50%. We're probably, I don't know if you have any data on that, we're probably at about 25 to 30% of normal total.
I have to do the calculations, but it's hard to say because you also have your Medicaid piece in there too. So I'm going to say it's probably somewhere around $100,000 to $125,000 of lost revenue, because fares are about 1.4, 1.3, 1.4 million divided by 12 on average. About 125,000 to 100.
Yeah, but then you're only at 30% of your ridership, so.
Yeah, you're not.
Yeah, Commuter Express is operating on holiday schedule, and there's not, the dial-a-ride buses aren't on the road, so the actual loss is different than just the revenue loss from fares. But Lisa's right, there's a lot of contracts in there too.
Yeah.
One of the big ones is when Deepwood opens again, we will see a big spike in dial-a-ride ridership, and they're talking about that being sooner rather than later because of all the places they clean.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I will try this one more time. Do we have any old business in the room? Seeing none, we're going to go to the new business section. And I would like to mention in the new business section that we were supposed to have an executive session today. We are going to try and attempt to schedule a special meeting. I would be shooting for next Monday at 4 o'clock. I will send an email to everyone to see their availability. The reason we did not do the executive session today was to just err on the side of caution with some potential security concerns that were brought up. So we would be attempting to do a Zoom call with the executive session, which would be a special meeting, but we would actually have two separate executive sessions. And again, Brandon has been incredibly helpful in dotting I's and crossing T's with security. Chuck and I have been working very closely with Brandon, and we're taking the absolute most cautious approach to this to ensure the integrity of the executive session. Any other new business? Okay, at this time, is there a motion to adjourn today's committee of the whole meeting? Motion made by Ms. McNamee. Is there a second?
Dale, second.
Seconded by Mr. Schiavone. Ben, please call the roll. Ben, please call the roll.
Anderson.
Yes.
Kowski. Martin.
Yes.
McNamee.
I'm not hearing here.
McNamee.
Yes.
Montrella.
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Sheets.
Yes.
Zibble.
Yes.
Okay, we have concluded today's committee of the whole meeting at 5:28 PM. And let's just proceed right into our Board of Trustees meeting at 5:28. Ben, would you please call the roll?
Anderson.
Here.
Palkowski.
Present.
Martin.
Yes.
McNamee.
Here.
Montrella.
Yes.
Tony.
Here.
Sheets.
Here.
Zibble.
Here.
I guess I should, Spence, not here.
Yes, thank you very much. And Sarah did advise us she was unable to attend today's meeting. If everyone could please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
United States of America. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
God, indivisible, liberty,
liberty,
justice.
for all.
That was the first time I've done that on a Zoom call, and we all have our own pace that we do it, apparently.
A window with a flag in it.
Ms. McNamee, would you read the mission statement, please?
I shall. Lake Train is committed to providing quality public transportation services to all Lake County residents with special emphasis on meeting the transportation needs of seniors and people with disabilities.
Thank you very much. Now, for the public comment session, Ben or Tony, can you confirm if there are any people waiting for public comments?
There's none.
Julia says we have none from YouTube and we have none in advance, so we are good to go.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the Lake Tran Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of February 24th, 2020?
So moved.
Dale, second.
Motion made by Ms. McNamee, seconded by Mr. Schiavone. Ben, please call the roll.
Anderson.
Abstain.
Martin.
Abstain.
McNamee.
Yes.
Montrella.
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Sheets.
Yes.
Zibble.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the Lake Tran Trustees Board meeting minutes of February 24th, 2020?
Dale, so moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Schiavone, seconded by Ms. McNamee. Ben, if you could please call the roll.
Anderson.
Abstain.
Martin.
Abstain.
McNamee.
Yes.
Montrella.
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Sheets.
Yes.
Zibble.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. And I will now move to our first action item. Is there a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the CEO or his designee to enter into a contract with R.L. Bowen and Associates Incorporated for construction and administration services for the project to renovate and expand Lake Tran headquarters building at a cost not to exceed $253,115?
Dale, so moved.
Zibble, second.
Motion made by Mr. Schiavone, seconded by Mr. Zibble. Ben, can you please call the roll?
Anderson.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
McNamee.
Yes.
Montrella.
Yes.
Schiavone.
Yes.
Sheets.
Yes.
Spence. Zibble.
Yes.
My list going.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the CEO or his designee to purchase 6 vans for $69,553 each for a total not to exceed $417,318?
So moved, Anderson.
Second, Montrella.
Motion made by Mr. Anderson, seconded by Mr. Montrella. Ben, please call the roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
McNamee,
yes,
Trella,
Yes.
Chivoni,
Yes.
Sheets,
yes,
Zibble,
yes,
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the CEO or his designee to purchase a complete mobile column wheel lift system with jack stands at a total cost not to exceed $56,000?
Dale, so moved.
Second,
Zibble, second,
Motion made by Mr. Chivoni, seconded by Mr. Montrella. Ben, could you please call the roll?
Anderson,
Yes.
Martin,
No.
McNamee,
no,
Montrella,
yes.
Chivoni,
Yes.
Sheets,
no,
Zibble,
yes,
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the attached resolution authorizing the CEO or his designee to purchase a Lake Tran facilities truck upfitted with a work body, crane, and safety lighting with a total cost not to exceed $81,000?
So
Dale,
moved.
Dale, second.
Motion made by Mr. Anderson, seconded by Mr. Chivoni. Ben, please call the roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Martin,
No.
McNamee,
no,
Montrella.
Yes.
Chivoni,
Yes.
Sheets,
no,
Spence, Zibble, God, I did it again.
yes,
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm reading my list.
fair enough.
At this time, we'll turn the meeting over to Lisa for the Director of Finance reports.
Can you hear me okay?
So far,
Yes.
Yes.
Talking loud enough? Okay. All right, if it's okay, I'm gonna go over the March financial report. What I had, it's not March, it's February, sorry. Yeah, it's February. But anyways, we'll go over the February financials. So right now, you're not gonna see any of this downturn. It won't show in this report. I did get something today from the state auditors, and it just stated that there was a small decline for March, and that we'll see a larger decline, the full decline in April. So as of February, on page 52, if we could go to page 52, this will be the Schedule B for February 2020. And if we go to the total revenue column year to date, which will be on the right-hand side of the dashed line going down, our actual numbers are in at $2,997,307. Budgeted to be at $2,741,628. We are doing better by 9.3%, or $253,379. And I will tell you that main, well, not the main contribution, but one of them is sales tax, which is our largest revenue stream. That currently through February is up by 4.3%. Other parts of that is because of the grants. So we got our grant revenue in. As far as expenses, if we go further down that dotted line in the year-to-date column on the right-hand side, our expenses, our actual expenses are at $2,722,350. We budgeted to be at $2,746,159. So we're pretty much on track as far as our expenses. We are 9% better than what we said we would be. And so right now our income through the end of February is $274,957 to the good for revenues versus expenses. Does anybody have any questions?
Gail?
Yes.
Gail, you're on mute again.
Sorry. In our cash reserve, is that correct? We're around 16 million?
If we can turn to page, I kind of broke that out on page 54, is
Right.
actually a summary of your investment and all of our cash. And the grand total cash is at 16.5 million. And I kind of broke it out for you versus operating capital, STS. And then, of course, we have our fuel account that we have decided can only be spent on fuel.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Lisa? Is there a motion to accept the financial statement for January 2020, subject to audit?
So
Dale,
moved.
Dale second.
Motion made by Ms. McNamee, seconded by Mr. Cervoni. Ben, please call the roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
McNamee,
Yes.
Montrella,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Sheets,
Yes.
Zibble,
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Is there a motion to accept the financial statement for February 2020, subject to audit?
Dale, so moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Cervoni, seconded by Ms. McNamee. Ben, please call the roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
McNamee,
Yes.
Montrella,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Sheets,
Yes.
Zibble.
Yes.
Excellent, thank you, everyone. And at this time, we'll turn the meeting over to Matt for the ridership report.
Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to go over kind of what we're seeing right now as far as ridership goes. Our local routes, 50% of the capacity of a normal month. Park and rides, we are at 5%. That is obviously to be expected because a lot of the companies downtown have the ability for people to work from home. And dial-a-ride is at the 28% of our normal capacity. Like Ben mentioned earlier, we were seeing like 180 trips a day, and we've gotten up to about 280 to 300 trips a day on a normal basis. So we have seen some increases. I think that's largely people still need to go to, the grocery store, doctor's appointments, CDC, those types of things. Some other things that we've been doing with the COVID-19 pandemic, passengers are entering through the rear doors of our fixed route or route buses. As you know, the fare suspension on all modes. We have provided masks and gloves to drivers. We have allowed more drivers off during this time. So if especially like if they're in at-risk group, they can take leave of absence. It's not a big deal. We can still meet demand. We have provided bathroom locations around the county to help drivers. This has been mostly at our park and ride facilities. So obviously with all of the restaurants and places being closed, it's really tough to find a place to use the facilities. So we have done that to help. We have also provided drivers opportunities to help in maintenance, which I'm sure Keith will go over later here. Provided a sanitizing solution for drivers that kills the virus. So I'm sure Keith will go over that. Sorry if I'm stealing some of your. We have been keeping some buses from going on the road to promote. We have been keeping some buses back, but we have mostly been just keeping buses on the road to help promote the social distancing, similar to what Mayor Anderson was referring to earlier in the meeting. And then So that's kind of the wrap up of that. We've been working on the Route 8 bus stop locations and working on the final version, which I believe that you will be seeing next month. And finally, Lake Tran, Lifeline, Council on Aging, RSVP, and the Board of Commissioners have joined forces to provide temporary relief to senior households by delivering groceries. So as of tomorrow, since we have all of our trips in for tomorrow, we will have delivered 1,477 bags of groceries, and we are expected to have delivered 2,500 bags of groceries by the end of it on May 14th. Sorry, I was kind of lengthy there today. So, and that's all I have.
Thank you very much, Matt. Let's turn the meeting over to Keith.
Okay, since last time I got to update the board, we put 22 of our 28 passenger dial rides in service. The remaining 6 will be done this week. The vendor that was installing the camera systems was not essential and wasn't coming in to finish that project, but they're due back this week and the buses should be back in service. We also, since last update, all 6 of the VT3s and all 10 of the vans were prepped and are in service, active service. The 4 in-county fixed route capable dial rides will be prepped again this week. Staffing levels, there's been a lot of changes. Our assistant director of facilities maintenance has started. Our assistant director of fleet maintenance has started. That was an internal promotion. 2 hossers started, bringing our crew up to 4. And we hired 1 mechanic and she started April 13th. For our COVID-19 preparations or precautions, early in March, we started gathering supplies. Start off with approved disinfectant wipes, approved disinfectant cleaners, as much as we could get our hands on at the time. We found a concentrated cleaner that the Cleveland Clinic uses. We bought that in bulk and were able to offer it to employees. The problem was getting spray bottles. Employees are bringing in their own spray bottles to use it. We gathered face masks, rubber gloves. We borrowed an electrostatic sprayer to sanitize the building, and we have a purchase agreement to buy battery-powered electrostatic sprayers, but they're on back order from that same vendor. High touch points were wiped down on a regular basis. The building is disinfected nightly. Buses are receiving extra disinfecting above the routine cleaning by the hossers, which their work includes that disinfecting cleaner also. And drivers have the ability to disinfect between trips. As for maintenance activity, other maintenance activities were ahead of normal on our air conditioning checks. So we're getting to them before the weather changes, so we don't have to, what we call fix and fail. Buses that we're waiting on camera installs are already prepped on our end with all the Lake Tran equipment. Again, they're just waiting for the vendors to come and put in the cameras. Retired buses were stripped of all the markings and equipment and are ready for auction. Right now, we have a stockpile of buses here because people are not buying on gov deals. Like Matt said, we pulled 16 of the diesel buses from active service. They're not retired. We did this originally to conserve cleaning supplies, but these buses do cost more to maintain, and the cost per mile in fuel on the smaller vans and the propanes is saving us money as we go. We prepped the 6 buses for the food delivery service, some minor changes to accommodate all the food. We worked on an underground drain that was broken in the fueling bays with the lightened load of vehicles going through at night, gave us the time to do that during the day. And we also rented a dumpster to start getting rid of some of the clutter that's been collecting around the building prior to the construction project. And that's all I have.
All right, so for the communications department, so obviously everything that we've really been doing this month has been COVID related. All of the updates that have been going through operations that Matt just covered from, you know, the strategy was to first come out and talk about the ways that we're cleaning to keep the buses safe. Obviously that's been just a priority for those who do have to ride early on to know how safe it is that we're cleaning our vehicles. And then we kind of shifted into more about the essential trips and to only ride if it was essential. And then obviously the focusing on social distancing and how we did the rear boarding, we suspended fares, things like that. Outside of the operations for that, we've also started Zoom. Nobody can have too much Zoom. We're doing travel training by Zoom. So we've already been working with Mentor Public Schools as well as Riverside Schools. And so what's been great is we've been able to at least continue that programming that we offer to schools. May's always been a big time for us to do travel training because the students can take it, learn it, and then apply it over the summer, maybe when they're not in school, to still be able to get out on the buses and they're not home. A lot of the special needs classrooms really like to have us in at the end of the year. I think sometimes the teachers are kind of done teaching and we're kind of a fun program to come into the classroom. So Ben has been able to continue working with our school districts, which has been great, but a little bit of well. And then obviously we've been promoting the home delivery, delivered groceries as well. Before COVID, we did continue to push out, and we are still letting our riders know that Dial a Ride is now prepaid. That was official March 31st. So we are now only collecting prepaid fares once we go back to collecting fares on Dial a Ride, which couldn't have been at a better time, not knowing that COVID was about to hit. I'm going to give more in depth about the coverage of our public hearings next month. That'll come from either Ben or I. We're gathering all that data, but again, thank goodness we did our public hearings when we did, because we had a lot of great engagement. But we wouldn't have been able to have them if we just did it a month later. And then at the end, you can see we've had a long list of media coverage. The media, you know, obviously wants to have as many stories about COVID and being in a service. We've been able to provide those. We have ongoing PSAs on both WINT, WKKY, WREO, which are the three main stations here in the county. They're just running in a continuous of that, you know, please remember to just have essential trips and only use public transit if it's essential to help protect our bus drivers and those who do need to ride. Once stay home is lifted, those will be lifted as well. And I think that's about it. It's been a lot of good press this month and what we've been doing and how our employees have been serving the community. So overall, I think Lake Trans, you know, did a great job of responding safely, and I think we've just had a lot of good positive press, and then obviously going above and beyond with the grocery program. And that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Do we have a report from Mike?
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Staffing, the third of 3 new driver classes started on April the 20th. These were the result of the hiring events that we had in very early February. So over the course of those 3 classes, we ended up hiring 28 part-time drivers, and of those, I think about 10 or 12 of them are probably going to be full-time because they came in our door with a CDL, which is very helpful for operations when things get back to normal. And to add on to Keith's report about the maintenance staffing, we made an offer to a mechanic 2. He accepted. He'll be starting with us on July the 6th. Workers' comp update. We had a pretty hefty claim from 2015 that has reached max value. It's out of our experience as of the 1st of this month. We'll see the impact of that as we move past 2021 and reduce premiums. And you probably heard a lot about Governor DeWine's announcement about the BWC's Billion Back program. What it essentially did was rebate 100% of employer premiums from 2018, in addition to any rebates that were already made. Since the time this report was written, we did get that check back. It was $34,000 some. And so far, year to date, no recordable injuries. So things are looking good on that front too. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll turn the meeting over to Ben.
Yeah, so one of the things Mike mentioned that I'm sure some of you might have had questions about was the hiring classes. So those were a result of the in-person events we had, and I'm sure based on some of your comments, you're thinking, why did we continue with those in light of the current pandemic? There's a couple reasons. You know, they were already in process is one small reason, but the other reason is the pandemic has caused us to have sort of accelerated retirements from a number of employees in operations particularly. So we are not trying to go crazy with hiring, but we are trying to keep ourselves level so that we don't lose too many people as a result. You know, I think in some of my early emails, I sent out the average age of our workforce. You know, it is in its mid to upper 60s. And so we have had at least 4 drivers retire in the last couple weeks. I don't think that will be the end of them. So while you might say, you know, why were you hiring or why didn't you postpone those classes? The main reason is because of us losing folks. And when I say that, losing folks to retirement from COVID. So we have talked about delaying some of the other classes we had planned, which we are going to do, but we are trying to take sort of a, you know, cautious but optimistic viewpoint on how we try and maintain staffing. Because of how long it takes to train someone, you know, it's a delicate balance, but we feel pretty good with where we're at now, and we expect, I would say, another 4 to 5, maybe as many as 10 retirements by the end of COVID. You know, a lot of them are off work right now, and we don't expect them to come back once they have the availability. So just in case you're wondering about that when you heard Mike's updates on classes. I have another positive note. I don't know if I've talked about this with all of you, but we have been working with Geauga Public Transit to essentially sell access to our software. So as all of you know, Trapeze is a very expensive transit software we use to manage Dial-A-Ride. Geauga used to use it. They were forced off of it by a state procurement, and they have been unhappy ever since. We had conversations with them and the state about the ability for Geauga to not have to own servers, hardware, or anything, and essentially use our software remotely. So Brandon did a good job finishing up. Oops, sorry. Can you not hear me?
I can hear you.
So Brandon did a good job wrapping up that agreement. So we will essentially be selling a portion of Trapeze to Geauga Transit. That will result in a positive revenue flow of about just over $41,000 a year, which will not increase our cost of Trapeze. So we will recoup some of our investment in Trapeze by selling it to them annually. It will also give them a better solution than the one they have from the state they're unhappy with. So Brandon wrapped up that agreement, and it has been, I believe, sent to Geauga for their approval. It's a very positive step. NOACA is very pleased with it. ODOT is very happy because, you know, from their standpoint, only one person has to maintain hardware. So that is a great process for us that has just essentially started. Tony already has the remote desktop stuff ready to enable them to do that. So I'm very excited about that. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to receive a total of around $7.9 million from the Federal Transit Administration through the CARES Act.
I can't hear it all.
Can everyone else hear me?
I can hear you.
I'm good. I can hear you.
I'm good.
Good.
We are set to receive $7.9 million in funds from the CARES Act. That money is a formula. We are getting 7.9 million. Cleveland RTA is getting 111 million. That was not money that we had to submit an application for. It is money that is just functionally being sent to us. We will have to complete some application documents to finalize it, but it will arrive relatively soon. It's very flexible. We will use most of it for operations, some of it for a bus purchase. I just wanted to also kind of let everyone know about some things coming up in May. in case you wanted to talk about that any further between meetings. I talked at a previous board meeting about we had ended our agreement with Proterra to buy fixed route buses. We have completed the procurement process for fixed route buses, and we have interviews with the 2 finalists later this week. So that process has been, essentially, we started it in 2018, and we are hoping to wrap it up soon. Those are all funded by grant dollars, and we are really excited to get that finished because we've had a significant group of New Flyer failures in the last couple weeks. And just another thing to keep on your radar, we will be presenting the results of all the Route 8 public hearings next month, just to give you a feel for what we saw and talked about with the public. I know with the coronavirus, there's a lot of uncertainty in the world, but we have had a lot of communication with the public on this topic, and we want to be able to update you with where we are at. So if any of you have any questions about that, I would be happy to talk about that, now or between the next board meeting. But I'm really happy with how we've reacted as an agency with COVID. We've got several orders of masks for the drivers. I don't think we mentioned we got about 12,000 masks so that drivers can have a new one every day and feel very safe. And we have Cintas giving us, I forget the exact number of gloves, but it is quite a lot, so that all of our employees have access to masks, gloves, and the disinfectant Keith talked about with the bottles. We essentially have a PPE station in the garage. So drivers can fill up a bottle of disinfectant to take with them on the road to clean in between passengers. They can get the masks they need, rags, gloves, and sort of anything they need to do their job. So it's really been a good group effort. We're very happy with how things have gone. We will continue to monitor the COVID situation and sort of adjust as necessary. We do plan on, in the near future, depending on how the governor reopens things, bringing Park and Ride back into full service. We are aware that there won't be a huge amount of ridership on it, but Park and Ride ridership being very sensitive, we are concerned that if we don't bring it back a little sooner than most people are planning to go to work, if they have to adjust their schedule and try and figure out a different bus to ride, it may be very easy to lose that ridership for a very long term. So we expect to operate those buses a little emptier than we would like for a couple months, but we want to make sure our customers know what bus they can go back to when their life returns to normal. We have not yet picked an exact date because we're sort of waiting for more information from the governor, but we should be getting that sort of back soon. But there's been a lot that's gone on in the last couple months, especially with COVID. So I don't know if anybody else has any questions about it or any of the things we've done, if they have any other follow-up for us, but we thank you for your support during this time. We know it's been interesting, and hopefully our first virtual board meeting is to everyone's satisfaction. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you very much, Ben. At this time, is there a motion to adjourn today's meeting?
Dale, so moved. Second.
Motion made by Ms. McNamee, seconded by Mr. Schiavone. Ben, please call the roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
McNamee,
Yes.
Montrella,
Yes.
Schiavone,
Yes.
Sheets, Zibble.
Chuck's muted.
Yes.
I'm not sure if Lane's having a problem hearing or not.
Yeah, I think Lane's having a hearing problem.
I think he is.
I haven't been able to hear for the last 7 or 8 minutes.
Chuck, did you hear the roll? You're on mute, Chuck.
Yes.
Okay. Then, folks, we are adjourned today at 6:02. I encourage everyone to stay safe, and who knows how we'll continue to meet in the future, but stay tuned. The details will come out.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
See ya.
guys.
Hi, everybody.
You're gonna send,
Alrighty. See
you're
you.
gonna send out the information for Monday?
Yes, I will send out information for the special meeting.
Okay.
All right, bye now.
All right, thank you.
Bye.